Welcome back to Comic Art Live. Thanks everybody for joining us. My name is Mark Walters of BigFanboy.com. We hope you guys have been enjoying the day's festivities. It's not going to end here. There's more of it tomorrow. But right now we're bringing you one that I'm particularly happy to be a part of. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you this dynamic duo of comic. I don't even know the easiest way to sell it because they are so great. They're wonderful people in person. I can assure you this is one of those you want to meet your heroes people. Ladies and gentlemen, Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti.
Hey,
what is up, guys?
How's it going, buddy?
How are you?
All right. We're missing you, man.
Haven't
seen you. How's your COVID?
You know, it's not bad. I've been coping pretty well, but it is weird because normally around this time, well, I guess about a month or so from now, we would all be hanging out at San Diego Comic-Con, and this is now 2 years in a row we haven't been able to do that. So it's crazy not being able to see friends, you know?
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
It definitely is like when everybody does get together, it's going to be a lot of late night drinking. That's all I know.
Like we're never going to want to go home. We're just going to want to like stay together forever.
Right. Which is a joke anyway, because I think it's always like that anyway. You know,
yeah.
We don't need a COVID to do that, but I think it's going to be extra amped up whenever we see you next time. I mean, whether it's San Diego or somewhere else, you know, but we're happy to be here today.
Yeah.
Among all these great shows going on, you know, and having you as a host is like a big deal for us, man.
I know.
Well, listen, I'm honored, you know, anytime I can do this. It's funny because I don't think we've ever done a panel together before, which is funny because we've known each other for so long and we've been at shows together.
Yeah.
The closest
we were arrested once. We were arrested together once, but we didn't do a panel.
The closest we ever came was I was on stage for you, introducing you so that you could take over the panel and do Stan Lee's panel. And
Right.
I think that was the last time. Yeah, that was the last time we were on stage together.
Yeah,
so,
man. Yeah.
Very, very awesome.
Stan. We miss Stan, boy. I miss him leaning into me going, be kind, you know, because everybody, he'd be like, because he couldn't hear. Remember, he couldn't hear in one of his ears very well. So he'd be like, Jimmy, I can't hear in this ear, so you got to sit on the other side. And I'm like, okay, you know, very Stan type thing. But yeah, it's been a while, man. But we're happy to be alive and kicking.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you bring up COVID. Like you guys, you were always kind of on the road. Like you were out there going to shows and whatnot. Has it been weird not being able to do that?
Yeah. The last year it was like basically keep mom and dad alive. That was like our goal.
Right. Yeah. Amanda's parents live not too far, and they're in their 70s.
Yeah.
And we were worried about them. Mostly us, we figured we get it, then we get sick, and then we get better, you know, hopefully. But then we were worried about, and we're in Florida, so it is like the Wild West here. It's like, oh, COVID, that's something we read about, you know. People, you know, they're a little reckless here.
It's a little nutty.
Yeah, it's a little nutty, but you know, it's feeling it's on. Today I went to this store. I went to Michael's to pick up some art supplies, and it was packed. And Michael's is never packed.
Never. It's our Michael's like, like you go in there, there's like 5 other people in the giant store.
So I think
at any given time.
Did you coin it? Revenge shopping is going on?
I read an article about people revenge traveling. You know, like people are so angry at COVID and being stuck inside that there's like, I'm going to travel somewhere if it kills me, damn it. So like somebody, like I guess some journalist coined it revenge travel. And Jimmy went out today and it was like, you know, it's a Saturday.
Right.
I think it's like the first Saturday after they said you don't have to wear masks in Florida.
But people were wearing them in the stores, though.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
But like people are just out. Like Jimmy said, it was like somebody swatted a beehive.
A beehive with a bat, with a baseball bat. Like, there's people everywhere, cars, traffic. I was like, oh, okay, this is insane.
Right.
You know?
So yeah.
People have to get it out of their system now because they haven't been out for a while. And I think it's like the same thing with the comic stores. Like my office is in a comic shop, and it's been you know, it's been just crazy. Hey, TJ just popped in. I see he always comes by. Hey, TJ. From Brian, my buddy Brian. Anyway,
and hello, Christopher.
And hello, Christopher. in a comic shop, it's been super busy. I mean, it's not really new books though. They've been buying a lot of back issues, and comic art is like a monster right now. And I'm happy for all that because I have a lot of that. So I have a lot of comics.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of art.
Yeah.
Now, you guys have been getting into something that I want to ask you about because you've been doing this with paperfilms.com, getting into the NFTs. What has that experience been like?
It's a learning experience. It's weird.
Yeah. I mean, we have a pros and cons. Amanda has an official pros and cons list.
I made a list. I was really worried about, the amount of energy it takes to mine one of these things, or not to mine, but to mint one of these things. And it also takes a lot of energy to mine it. But, I was like balancing it. And the great thing about it is it gives like artists that might not otherwise, get a chance to show their artwork off, a platform to do that. And it's also a platform for people to buy, it's like a new way for an artist to make a living. Like if you're a young artist coming up and say you live somewhere where they don't have conventions and there's no galleries or anything like that, it's a great way for like a young artist to make a living off of actually doing art. So that's like a big giant plus. And, I was thinking about it, and Ethereum is going to be switching over to a much less energy consuming way to exist really soon. So, I was like, okay, so that's a good thing. I was like,
Ethereum is a currency, by the way. It's a money. It's a money currency,
and it's also what they mint a lot of the artwork on. Like their blockchain is what it's so complicated.
Yeah, Amanda has three pieces up on, what is it, Makers?
On Maker's Place.
Maker's Place. And they're her own stuff. So it's like, it's not a Marvel with DC characters. It's Amanda's own art. So we're trying it out. I mean, it's like anything new. There's going to be people that hate it without investigating it or love it, or people are going to spend too much money or whatever. We're trying to look at it as it's another way to artists to get out there. And, these things have to come straight from the artist. It's not like the middleman selling these things. It actually has to come from the artist. So there's a lot of different ways to do them. There's a lot of different currencies. So we're exploring it. I can't say we're deep diving yet.
Right. I mean, that's the thing is, also, it's like a new way for artists to get stuff out. And I don't want to be a dinosaur about it either. Like, oh, I'm not going to try that. That's for,
I like that I can spell it. That's my favorite part of NFTs.
Well, the other thing about it is, and we were talking about this the other day, is that every time it's sold, a certain percentage of it goes back to the original artist. And that's like something kind of new. Actors and musicians get royalties, every time a song is played or a movie is shown or, a TV show is shown. But I think, and I could be wrong here, stage performers and visual artists are the only artists who really don't get a royalty or anything, or, every time their art is sold, like you can have a painting being sold for millions of dollars and the artist who did it is like,
flat out of luck.
Yeah, SOL, and not making any money off of it.
Yeah, so the concept behind this also is that, so if there's a Mike Mignola Hellboy painting or cover, and Mike makes an NFT of it, an edition of one or whatever, or even an edition of 10, or if it's a one of one, and Mike puts it out there, as it's sold, people resell it. We go to eBay, we see art being resold. Every time it's resold, Mike will get a percentage of that sale. And what a cool concept for an artist to keep getting money for the stuff they did long after the piece has been sold. Because I'm sure there's, Mark, these stories of these older artists that sold their big covers when they were younger for $1,000 or $500, and now they're getting $200,000 for it, and they don't see a dime of it.
Yeah,
and they're in their 80s and 90s, and they wish they saw even $100 from it, and they see nothing. And so this kind of levels that off a little bit, and And there's two kinds. There's a one of one. So Amanda has on Maker's Mart has a one of one. So it's like you're getting the original NFT. Or there's editions. Like she could do an edition of 10.
And it would be like the equivalent of, a limit, like a very limited print.
Right. And yes, and Christopher, yeah, we do sell Amanda's artwork on paperfilms.com.
Yeah, I was just about to post that, but somebody beat me to it. RJ beat me to it, so there you go.
Yeah, so I mean, it's an interesting concept. The currency and how they're made is, of course, the controversial part. But there are people coming in with with chains that don't use that much energy, and so it's evolving as we're talking about it. It's also, it's also changing all the time. So we'll see where it's going. We're you don't want to be left out in the cold with anything, and it's just something we're experimenting with. We have a giant learning curve with everything. We're on a giant curve all the time.
Yeah. Speaking of like kind of artwork being on display now, Amanda, you've got a bunch of pieces in a gallery in Hong Kong right now, currently, right? Is that kind of weird knowing that like your art is over there on display in Hong Kong and like all these people are, probably getting to see it up close and personal for the very first time?
Right. I mean, it's not like when it was first, it's been traveling all over the place. They first did it in France. And I think it was so successful that a lot of other galleries and museums were like, hey, can we keep this thing going? And, I'm like, sure, why not? But yeah, it's been over there for so long.
It's been traveling for
that
2
every
years.
Once in a while, I'm like, where's that piece of artwork? We actually lost a piece of artwork, and then thank God Patrick was like, oh no, that's overseas. We're like,
we had somebody call and they say, hey, do you have that Lobo Harley cover?
Right.
And we're like, we do. And he goes, oh, I want to give you this much. We're like, yeah, you can have it. And I couldn't find it. And Patrick, my buddy's like, no, dude, it's in the show. And the show's been London, Paris, Prague. And
did it go to South America too?
It didn't make it because of COVID. I think it didn't make it.
Oh, okay.
But one day, one of the times, hopefully soon, is we're gonna go visit the show because people are very nice. They send us photos of the show of Amanda stuff.
That's really fun.
And videos of Amanda talking with different languages.
That's really scary.
Yeah, and but we're gonna go. Hopefully, we'll get to see it before it comes back.
And Jimmy, I wanted to mention, we were talking before we started actually live on here that you guys have been working on Red Sonja, but and that was kind of like a personal itch you wanted to scratch because of your love of that character and whatnot, and also your love of Conan going back to many years ago. What's it been like working on that book in that way?
Well, and Amanda was a huge fan too.
So
it kind of worked out pretty well.
I discovered Red Sonja like long after I discovered Wonder Woman, and I'm like, what's this comic book character? I want to be her now, So yeah, I love Red Sonja.
Yeah, I think having the opportunity to Roy Thomas it all up with Sonja, because that's what we're doing. We're people are like, well, what's the voice you're bringing to Sonja? And I'm like, look, I said, we read all the Roy Thomas ones. We're going to try to do our best Roy Thomas.
The voice is Ornery Barbarian.
Ornery Barbarian, yeah. It's like somebody's like, is it going to get deep into her? And I'm like, no. She's going to fight. She's going to kill mermaids and pirates and, volcanoes are going to happen. And it's going to be crazy. She's going to get drunk and run, in a bar and pick a fight. And it's going to be we have a checklist of everything we ever wanted to do with Red Sonja. It literally is in these 6 issues.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we started the first issue with this like where she is, and then in the beginning of the story, and then we go backwards to tell the story. And I just was talking to Nikki, and I said I want to reprint the first 4 pages of the first issue in issue 4 or 5. I think it's 5, but I'm going to change the dialogue. And I said, don't worry, you don't have to pay us again. I still want the 20 pages after, but I want to use these 4 and rewrite it so we can catch up. So we're trying to have some fun with, being creative with it. But again, it's on our very short list of things we wanted to do, so we're happy to get to do it.
I also have to say, Amanda, I love the way you illustrate Red Sonja because it kind of makes me feel like the next step of evolution of like Frank Thorne and the style that he had towards that character.
That's what happened. Okay. That is a huge compliment. That is that's because that's what I love. That's what I was exactly going for. Like, like I was trying to sort of unleash my inner Frank Thorne and my inner Roy Thomas with Red Sonja. So yeah, that's what I was going for. I'm glad that you see that. I'm glad that it shows.
I just bought a Frank. Talk to a man. I just bought a Frank Thorne piece. I just want to show.
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool. That'd be great.
I didn't even know it was possible to find a Frank Thorne piece.
Oh, they're not cheap anymore. I mean, Frank no longer. Yes.
I know, which sucks, but
it's not a Sonja piece, right? So, but let's see if we can get a nice shot of it, though.
Oh my gosh! Oh, that's wonderful.
I think it's Gita. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And it's penciled, so I'm thinking maybe I should get my big pens out and have some fun. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Well, I mean, listen, if anybody was going to do it right about now, it would be the right time, considering what you guys have been working on. So, But Jimmy, speaking of getting your pens out, we're going to see you get to do at least a few pages in the upcoming Milestone Returns, working over Dennis Cowan, right?
Yeah, that it's either they had a deadline problem or Dennis was just being generous. But they sent me Dennis called me up, or I talked to the guys, and they asked if I can do a couple of pages for that special that comes out this week, actually. So I think I did 4 pages and pretty quickly, but it was fun. When I started at Milestone, I inked Hardware with Dennis, the first bunch of issues of Hardware. I also inked all the #1 covers for all the books when they started years ago.
Yeah.
So I was so excited to be working with them, and they called me up. I haven't inked anything professionally, I think, where I got paid since like 2008. So it's been a while. It looks brilliant as always, though. I mean, it's like I never stopped. No, it came out pretty good. It was a little intimidating at first, and then I got into it, and I remembered why I love inking Dennis, because Dennis is like, anything you want to do, go crazy.
You're good over Dennis.
Yeah, I like inking Dennis. The guy gives me the bones of stuff, and it's easy to ink. I find it. Me and Bill Sienkiewicz talk about inking Dennis. It's like we get to be artists when we're inking him, because he has that style that is just asking for you to put ink on a toothbrush and go, all over the page. So it was fun. I mean, look, for the right person, right artist, I do enjoy inking. I just don't do it that much because the reason I stopped was because I kept getting a lot of artists that I kept getting a note saying, hey, can you fix this? And then they'd give me 25 pages. And I'd be like, I don't feel like fixing that. And like, just send it back to the artist if it's wrong, Yeah. So
they weren't giving you fix-it money. They were giving you inking money.
No,
there's a difference. There's pencils and inks. And usually the penciler, gets more money, and the inker gets, second amount of money.
Right.
But then there's breakdowns, which are like extremely rough pencils. And then there are finishes where the person penciling the breakdowns doesn't get as much money, and the inker doing the finishes gets more money because he's fixing and drawing everything. But
right, that's just my phone. Ignore him.
Okay. But he was getting inker money for doing finishes.
Yeah, I get notes. Can you fix the hands? Can you fix the feet? Hey, can you do the background here? Because he didn't do it. And my argument was, the artist, if you're an editor, give it back to the artist and have him fix it. But I became the guy that kept fixing other people's stuff. Yeah. And I had to break that chain, and I figured, well, the writing will keep me out of that arena for a while. And it worked out pretty good. If I trashed with the writing, I probably might have went back to penciling or inking, but the writing's worked out. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of everything.
Absolutely. There's a couple of things I wanted to get to here in the chat. Paul Deathridge said, I traveled from Kansas to New York Comic-Con a few years back. Your line was long and you weren't doing sketches, but Amanda still did a quick power girl on my book with colored marker. You're both awesome. Thank you, Paul. That's very nice of you to say.
Yeah, very nice, Paul. We hope to see you again. And
I do love drawing Power Girl.
And we do love Paul.
CJ asked the question, hi, Amanda and Jimmy. I'm aware of watermarks. How else would you recommend artists protect their work with so much digital presence and potential copyright issues today?
Well, the watermarks are great.
The watermarks are good. I mean, also, it depends on how you're presenting it. If you're like presenting it to be sold, then maybe like a lower resolution thing would be the way to go, so that if somebody tries to make like a fancy print out of it, it'll just look like mud. I mean, I guess that's a really good question.
Yeah, I mean that's all I know. There's probably somebody you can.
That's I mean, watermarks are good, or just like low resolution thumbnails so that people can't like blow it up and make it into something that they claim as their own.
Yeah. Wayne Musso says my favorite couple. I agree, Wayne. Hillary Barda says I'll link it.
Hillary, Hillary is such, so Hillary's one of those guys. He's a great artist. So when he inks something, it's like becomes this other thing. He's fantastic. I mean, that guy is with a brush. Holy sugar. He's really great. So Hillary, you're out there. I mean, but he's a full blown artist that chooses to ink once in a while, and he's amazing. So if you get a penciler and you get Hillary, you just want to bet,
And lastly, TJ James wanted to say that Hardware was a fantastic take on the Iron Man trope.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yep.
Good observation.
So I'm excited because you teased something on Twitter that I thought was really cool, and that was we're going to see more Painkiller Jane this fall. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So so the basic plan for Amanda and I these days is Kickstarters and doing more books ourselves, and less for the big guys because I think we've done everything we need to do, and we pitched everything we were interested in and been turned down everywhere. So, at this point, we're going to stick to what we're doing. And right now we're working on Captain Brooklyn with Amanda and Frank Thierry. And I have another book with Painkiller Jane, Kickstarter we're going to do. And I also have a book with Scott Hampton we're doing.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So there's we have a lot of stuff coming up. It's just that we have to do it. And as people know out there, when we do the Kickstarters, I don't do another one until I fulfill the one before it. So like Sex and Violence right now, we're getting the books this Thursday from the printer. So for the next 2 weeks, I'll be shipping them. And then we'll do the Kickstarter. I think the next one is going to be the Scott Hampton book that's called Rage. Scott painted this book, and we came up with the idea together. But that's our future plan because we do love the freedom of doing the Kickstarter. We love the connection with the people directly selling to the people that are interested in what we're doing. And we also love not having editorial telling us what to do. You're always going to get a better book from us the more you leave us alone. So, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a balance of, editorialing and
sure.
And
but we want to do stuff our way. Right. Amanda and I have we have a little bit more of an adult take on a lot of our books that don't really work in mainstream too well.
Do you feel like Kickstarter and crowdfunding in a lot of ways is that going to be the future of comics? Because I mean, there's a lot of interesting things that are happening right now, like with the AT&T merger and all that. And I think a lot of people are curious, well, what does this mean for the comic book industry? And you guys obviously have had a great amount of experience with crowdfunding. Do you feel like that's kind of where the future of comics is at this point?
I think the future of comics is all about the creators and less about the companies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think anybody who's buying, I only buy Marvel or I only buy DC is out of their mind, right? Because they're missing out on so much stuff. I think the future of comics is about following creators doing work they love and believe in. Because let's be honest, we look at a career and you say, how many books do these people have left in them? And the idea that they're going to work on other people's characters is kind of like, I wish they would just do their own thing. I want more Walt Simonson books. I want more creators doing their own stuff. So I think that's going to be the future. I also think that the bigger companies are forcing us to do it. They're not taking care of us. They're not looking out for us.
Well, they're not really content driven anymore. Now they're licensing driven.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Right, but even they don't include us in when something we're doing does really well. Outside media, they don't really include us. We're an afterthought to them. Even we see giant films making millions of dollars based on stuff that we worked on, and they expect us to jump for joy when they send us $1,000 or a couple of grand.
Or they put a little thank you at the end, and that's it.
Right, and it's just like after a while, it's like, my God, it's like, I'm watching the guy who drove one of the people to the set made 5 times more money than we did. And the screenwriter, of course, this is my idea and it's great. Screenwriter's getting all these accolades and he just took it right from books we worked on, like that kind of stuff drives us a little crazy. And instead of complaining about it, we're thinking, well, we'll just put our money where our mouth is and do our own books. And I think that's going to be the future for a lot of people. I don't think we need the companies anymore. I don't think I need Marvel or DC to get our comic books out there anymore. I just need the fans. I need the audience. And I need the interest that we do in us, so it's very important that we represent ourselves very well. And I think that's the future of everything right now. I think comic companies, for the most part, they're either superheroes in America or they're these companies that keep trying to launch books that they hope to sell as movies. And that's a little exhausting too. I think sometimes you need to do pure comics just for the fun of the comic. So, and at this point, there's no reason we should see older comic people in the business struggling to pay bills and get work and
eating ramen
noodles or cat food.
Yeah, I was thinking about it was kind of like what you were saying earlier about when original art was selling for so much money and the creators weren't getting any of it. And you guys, we were all mutual friends of the wonderful Bernie Wrightson, and Bernie and I used to have conversations about how he was living check to check, and I was like, that's just so wrong. Like Bernie Wrightson should be set for life, and yet because all these people were selling his originals and he wasn't seeing a dime from it, and it just kind of broke my heart that he wasn't getting more reward for all of his hard work.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would love to see one day everybody who sells and buys comic art to say, you know what, from now on, when we resell somebody's art, we give them 10%.
Yes. Yeah.
Not a lot, just 10%. It'd be so nice to guys like Gene Colan. Imagine, like, guys, I just think all the guys that would be getting these random checks and going, what happened? I don't think it will hurt the business. I think it'll also be like a really nice gesture. I know in the past, when I've resold something for a lot of money, I try to compensate the artist myself. That's something I do, but it would be great to see the industry kind of treat at least our elders in the business with a little more respect, and maybe throw them a couple of bucks here and there, whether it's for them or their family, or if they're not around, it'd be great to put their kids through college a little bit. I don't know, all that kind of stuff. I just think it's a minor thing to do, but it would have a major impact. And
who could start doing that rather easily? Some of these auction houses. Like absolutely. they could just make it part of the contract. Say we're going to send 10% to the artist. They
could do it tomorrow.
Yeah, they could. We got a couple.
They said they'll take 10% of whatever their fee is.
We got a couple things in the chat here I want to get to. TJ James asks, are you going to crowdfund a Pop Kill collected edition in a year or so?
I'm not sure. I gotta be honest. To do that, I have to kind of stop everything, and then I lose an original book. So I'm trying to figure out if it's worth it to take that book and then give it to a publisher and let them publish a collected. But it won't be for at least another year or so. It won't be anytime soon.
Okay. Ronald Shepard asks, any chance of a Kid Death and Fluffy revival, maybe as a Kickstarter?
The first story Amanda wrote and drew was a Kid Death story, and one of the greatest pages on it was the Fluffy, which was a robot dinosaur
dog.
Was at the Macy's parade in New York and started humping the Spider-Man balloon, and Amanda drew that in there. So you want to check that out because I'm sure Marvel loved that.
Yeah, I was trying to prove to everybody that I could be just as foul as the next guy.
But you never know. I would love to put Kid Death in something if it made sense. I was thinking of we were talking about doing like a crossover with all the characters that I've worked on, and that might be a fun thing to throw in there. I got to figure out how it would do. It would be like a Ricochet, something in the eye, and Kid Death would be sitting there laughing. It wouldn't be a big cameo. It would just be a small one, I think. But it's a good idea.
Robert Coleman asks, love y'all's work. Can you say if there's a plan on how many issues Invincible Red Sonja will run? Will Moritat be drawing them all?
6 issues, and he's drawing them all. Yes. And the story ends. It ends literally with a bang in issue 6, and not the way your filthy brain is going, Mark. So,
Fred Chamberlain says, watching so many creators who have given us so much, struggling is heartbreaking and enraging. Yes, I think we all agree with that. Wayne Mousseau says, I'm a third of the way through Barry Windsor-Smith's Monsters, and it's amazing. Creators should take the risk to spread their wings and just create. I absolutely agree with that.
I just got the book. I'm still reading the beginning, so I'm getting there.
Joseph M. Damon says, great to see you both. Jimmy, any plans on doing an ASH omnibus?
Ash,
I'm sorry. Why did I say ASH?
Because it's like NFT. It's like NFT.
It's like I was thinking NFT.
Nip.
An Ash omnibus. What do you think about that?
Anyway, yeah, because people are like reducing the entire English language down to like letters.
Joe and I talked about an Ash omnibus, and it's gonna have to be like when Joe is not so busy, because it's gonna be on him. He's a perfectionist, Joe, so he's gonna want to rework some stuff and everything one day, but I won't say it's gonna be soon. But we have been talking about Ash, and we have been talking about Ash-related things, so you never know.
Yeah. First book I ever got signed by you, Jimmy, was an Ash book. You came to, it was in Arlington, Texas, when I first met you. So,
wow. That was a while
Jimmy
ago.
And Amanda, Chuck Arnold says, Jimmy and Amanda have a great original art collection. Is there anything they're still looking for?
Ooh, art-wise?
Mm-hmm.
You have something you're looking for? Oh, I know what. Go ahead.
Like a Chuck Jones piece, just like we met Chuck Jones back in the 90s, early 90s, I think. And I was with my mom and dad and my ex, and he was doing a signing at a bookstore, and my dad says, is there any way you can draw just a pair of your like amazing eyes in the book? And he's like, damn, I'm not allowed to draw any, I'm not allowed to draw at the book signing, but I really appreciate that you like the way I do eyes. So yeah, I'm like looking for, even some Chuck Jones eyes.
Yeah. Chuck Jones actual eyes, even better, in a jar. Can you get that? Yeah, it'd be great. Just staring at you all night. For me, art-wise, I honestly have a piece of art from every artist that I've ever wanted. Does that make sense? It doesn't mean I have a prime piece of art by them. Some of them are just, but everybody that I've ever liked, I think I have one piece of art from. I don't have anything by H.G. Peter because I don't see that art, the old Wonder Woman art. I don't see that anywhere. Maybe a page of that would be great, but I haven't seen any anywhere. But no, I have one of everything. I mean, I have, I'm a Mobius, Manara fan, Frazetta, Al Williamson, Mike Mignola. Yeah, I have like one thing by each guy. I can't afford the prices they get for this stuff right now. So I'm just sitting on my collection, and then, maybe a couple years from now I'm starting to sell little things here and there on eBay, but that's just to pay for so we can go revenge vacationing.
Now we're gonna wait for all the revenge vacationing to go down a little bit, so that it's not so crowded everywhere on Earth.
Yeah.
So maybe in the fall it won't be so bad. I don't know.
Well, this kind of ties into that. Fred Chamberlain is asking, what is one of your grails of each of your art collections?
Ooh.
You got to. I know it's like trying to pick a favorite child, like which. It's
tough because I like, for sentimental reasons. and as a gift was from Darwyn Cooke. He gave me the cover for the collection, his art collection one. So it has the bar on the front that says Jimmy's, and I have that. So from that like sentimental point of view, that.
Yeah, and he also illustrated our wedding.
Oh yeah,
for the Harley.
Yeah, Harley Zero.
Harley Zero, and he gave us that original art, so that's incredibly awesome.
Yeah, I have like so a Jordi Bernay, Jonah Hex cover that I'll never part with, and Holy Grails. I have the Bob Peak TV guide cover that he did with Madonna with the diamonds are a girl's best friend, and it's gigantic, and I love Bob Peak, so that's like a and then I have we have a Sid Mead.
We do have a Sid Mead.
Oh wow, yeah,
it's like
it's incredible,
a cool futuristic car, and
Greg Hildebrandt.
I have a Greg
Killer Jane is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I have a Greg and Tim Hildebrandt that Amanda got me for my birthday years ago. That was a cover Greg and Tim did for us. So I have like stuff that's like really sentimental stuff that will always. When we both die, who knows who gets it? But we're gonna have it for a long time, though. Hopefully.
Stanley asked a question, and I guess this kind of relates to me in a way because I run conventions. But do you guys miss going to conventions?
Yeah. Of course. We miss seeing our familiar faces.
Yeah.
As big as the comic book business is, it's actually quite small. And Comic Cons, you see faces. It's not that we remember all the names, but I gotta say, like, there's a huge chunk of people that no matter where we do a show, I'm like, hey, how you doing? We see people. We forget the names, but you can't forget these people. They're
faces.
They're sweet people, and it's kind of fun.
Comic book conventions are just such a big giant den of love. Everybody there is so nice. It's all people who are just like really good, really smart, really, a bunch of people that are there to have like a incredibly good time. And it's just like it's got a lot of good vibes. Comic book conventions have a lot of good vibes.
Yeah, I do miss the walk to the hotel and running into random people asking, hey man, I like that book. It's like that doesn't happen in real life. It's very rare we're out where somebody recognizes. Usually if they do, it's very rare.
Mm-hmm.
But the cons are fun and the people are fun. I find comic book fans are super, super intelligent. So they always have something to say. It's like not a boring thing. And then we get to see guys like you and, usually when I see you, I see Tim Bradstreet or I'll see some of the guys. And it's so much, it's like family that you have that's like, you don't get to see too often.
It's like your non-blood relative family.
Right. Like they don't owe you money like your regular relatives. And that's good.
And it's not like a creepy uncle at Thanksgiving. Like it's like the family you want to see, No,
I think a creepy uncle could be like a good comic title though. What was it? You had like a TV, there was a TV show called, what was it, Touched by an Angel?
Yeah.
Amanda called it Touched by an Uncle. No, you called it Touched by an Uncle.
I just started calling it that because that's what you called it.
And I'm like, that show probably wouldn't do very well. Touched by an Uncle is not a great show title.
The network turned that one down. So Alexander Johnson says, my favorite from Amanda is the Wednesday's Comics Supergirl. Sadly, it seems to be her favorite too. Smiley face.
Alexander, do you know how giant those pages are?
I loved doing that book so much. That was actually, I should say, comic pages because it wasn't it's in a book. But man, I had so much fun with that story, and they're so big that you're able to fit like 17 panels on a page.
I'm gonna find a page for it. Keep talking to Amanda. I'm gonna tell you how giant it is.
Okay.
Well, actually, we have Amanda. We have a question for you. Busty Punch. I didn't make that name up.
That is like the most Power Girl name ever.
Busty Punch. Busty Punch. Question for Amanda. What is the best way to study and practice drawing facial expressions? Thank you.
Oh, that's a really good question. For me, it's a combination of a lot of stuff.
It's two back there. So
it's like I think it's really like
packed away.
Embedded. Giant. Having a mirror near your desk. That's one good way. Also, finding an artist or an illustrator or an animator who does faces that you love and looking at their stuff. That's how I did. I think one of the reasons I love doing facial expressions so much is because two of my favorite artists when I was growing up, when I was really little and growing up, were Hilary Knight, who did the Eloise book, and Chuck Jones, who did everything, you know, Grinch, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Wile E. Coyote, all that. And he's amazing with facial expressions. So like if you find, you know, artists and illustrators that you like for that particular thing, just look at their stuff, just, you know, sort of absorb it as much as you can.
I'm sure the answer to this is yes, but when we go to San Diego Comic-Con every year, do you guys go into that little Chuck Jones museum? Have you been in there?
We have.
Okay.
Yeah. We have been in there.
They're not all, you know, it's a lot of lithographs in there.
Right.
And they had some originals, but they weren't signed. And, you know, we went to Chuck Jones, it's actually signed. Because there's so much animation around that's not, you know, people just, there's a lot of copies. There
was an auction like 10 or so years ago, a Chuck Jones auction, and I missed it and I regret it so much because there was a lot of good stuff there. And I mean, at the time it was really, really like out of this world pricey, but now it's even more out of this world pricey.
I remember in that little museum at the back, there's a door that he drew on. And I keep wondering, like, you know, at some point when they move the museum or when they tear it down, who's going to get that door or who's going to get that piece of the wall that he drew on? You know,
we've drawn on toilet seats. There was a store. Was it in San Francisco that had the toilet seats? I think.
Yes. No. Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's a lot lot of explaining to do when they move.
Well, that was their thing, is toilet seats. Yeah, it's like they had all, like, every time they got an illustration from an artist, that was their thing, toilet seats.
Yes.
But we've drawn on
doors too.
On doors, in bathrooms,
babies' feet.
Yeah. Well, that was at a convention, but I'm talking about like permanent stuff.
Signed a hot dog once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You signed a hot dog.
Yeah, I signed a hot dog.
That was my fault.
Yes.
Okay. Fred Chamberlain says Amanda's original page from Love is Love is hanging in the waiting room of my counseling practice.
Oh, Fred! I think Fred won it at an auction, right, Fred?
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, I'm glad you got that. I hope you like it. And yeah, that was a fun one to do.
Yeah.
To which TJ James says, Fred Chamberlain, you suck. Because he's jealous, obviously. So
that's right. I like that Wayne calls himself the creepy Canadian fan. Wayne is anything but creepy. Wayne's a sweetheart.
I also want to take this time to tell people, if you guys would like to see more of Jimmy and Amanda's work, go to paperfilms.com. It's a fantastic website. It's set up. It's got all the information you could possibly want to see on there and links to all the projects that they're working on. If you're interested in buying original art, everything you need to know, paperfilms.com. And we'll post that in the chat as well for everybody. Jimmy's got something in his hand. What do you got there? Oh, wow.
That's a Batman Adventures piece Amanda just did. And we just put a couple of covers up. There's one of Crypto and Superman.
Oh wow, that's great.
I think it's from Superman Black, Blue and Red, or whatever. Blue and Red. This was the cover from the girls' comics.
Women of Marvel.
Women of Marvel. Yeah, it just came out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
A lot of puppy buttholes.
You'll be happy to know, Amanda, that cover was the first cover to sell out at my local comic shop.
It was?
Yeah, because I think they did like 3 different covers of that book, and that one sold out before the other 2. So
that's
amazing. I guess this comes out soon. This is number 2 of Crush. I guess Crush on her cell phone with tons of fast food cans around and Lobo.
Well, it's all coffee because she's
it's all coffee. Yeah, she's all. And we just put these covers up on paper film so that they're on the site now. These are the latest by Amanda.
Yeah. Please check out paperfilms.com for more information, because there's a lot of great stuff on there. CJ is asking, he says, I have to go now, but I love listening to you and the information you've shared. Will this video be available to watch the rest later? Yes, CJ. If you go to the Comic Art Fans YouTube channel, this video will be available to watch after we finish here today. So all of the videos from Comic Art Live will be archived, so you'll be able to check them out later.
And so, CJ, we're going to talk about you, so you're going to want to come back.
Yeah, you. We're going to share some private stories
about you, buddy. So, TJ, good guy.
You know, I'm curious. You're showing off these pieces of Amanda's, which I love. Amanda, do you have a piece that like you just can't bring yourself to ever sell it? Like something that really spoke to you when you did it? Because I know some artists, like they look at their artwork and all they see are the flaws. But is there a piece of yours that like you just feel like I will never ever sell this because it's just so great to me? Like, I mean, in the most modest way possible, of course.
Well, there's stuff that I put like a lot of work into, and I'm like, wow, this came out pretty good. I'm glad this came out as good as it did. And I think for me, it might be the end pieces that I do. Like if I do like a really, big run or, like a heavy duty run on a book, I'll do that character on a white background, and then there will be a whole bunch of little tiny panels behind them that, are like a moment from, like a scene in the book. I did it for Harley and Power Girl, Starfire.
That's it. And
Birds of Prey.
Oh, right. And Birds of Prey.
Yeah. And those, it's like, man, I put so much work into those, but I enjoy doing them. And they sort of like sum up the entire series, and I'm not ready to part with those yet.
Right. But what if somebody said, I'll give you a house in Italy for a month for one of those? What do you think?
We're in Italy.
Yeah.
True.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's what we do with art. We like translate it. Like if we sell it, are we paying for something? Like the house needs something done on the house, or are we gonna use the money in vacation? Or as I use all my money is pay my guys that do the Kickstarters. I pay them in advance because I don't want them to have the risk of whether it comes through or not. So I pay everybody in advance that does the Kickstarters. I figure they're working hard. That's the least I can do. I put money aside for that. That's my method.
TJ James says, but through deep fake technology, Amanda will be replaced by Brian Blevins.
That's way too of an inside joke.
I was going to say, that sounds like a very inside joke right there.
I don't know if Brian Blevins is listening, but my buddy Brian over there, he follows us with every time we.
Brian loves you so much.
He does. He's a sweet guy. That's just craziness. Back to the good stuff. Yeah.
Well, Jimmy, I wanted to congratulate you, and I don't know if you can really talk much about this, but it was announced that Wool is going to be made into an Apple TV series. Can you speak on that at all?
Sure, I won't be getting a dime.
Though that I'm so glad I brought it up.
I'm happy for the writer, and I'm happy that it's going to be adapted. It's a fantastic book. I loved Justin and I loved adapting the book for with Jimmy Broxton. We loved adapting that book. I mean, that was a great. It came out beautiful and with those Darwyn Cooke covers but that kind of deal. We don't. Maybe we'll sell a couple of more books, but we don't really get money from that either. So.
And that kind of speaks to what you were talking about earlier about doing your own books through Kickstarter, because now you if something like that happens, you have a better return for it because it's your property, you own everything, and you can control everything.
Yeah, this I won't get a dime for. I'll sign them at a con, I guess, but that's about it.
Ask for a dime when you sign them, and then that way you can say you got a dime.
I asked for $5, but I'll ask for a dime. We put Queen Crab into development for a TV series, so that I'm involved with, and that I'll be writing on, and that I'll be producing, and so there's a little life to that. But I'm happy about Wool. That's awesome. I mean, it's a great story. It deserves to be a series. It's going to be like you. I'll be watching it, just like we watched. What did we watch last night?
Oh, we watched Army of the Dead.
Army of the Dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, great.
Dave Bautista's great in that.
I'm trying to get in touch with him. He lives near me. I'm trying to get in touch with him because I have a book that's perfect for him.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic. It was just so much fun. It was one of those movies that you sit there and you just laugh and it's crazy and gets crazier. We really enjoyed it.
I'm very excited about the idea of Queen Crab because I can imagine just the visual aspect of that and all the wonderful things that you could do with it. That's very exciting to me. So I hope that that definitely comes to pass.
We're doing it. We're on a development stage, right? So we're working on the Bible. We're working on all that stuff. And then, as that goes on, then we look for, showrunner and all that kind of stuff. So this might take a year or so, but we did do the development deal. A lot of times when you're a comic person, you celebrate anything. So we're celebrating the development deal that will actually, I've had a lot of development deals in my career. 90% of them, nothing ever happened, but I'm still like that hopeful idiot, that keeps looking up in the sky, waiting for the mothership to come back. So I'm hoping this one gets done because it has a lot of stuff that actually is very topical to the world now. So I think this one might have a little better, better chance of happening. But I don't worry about that so much. I worry about my next comic book. That's the business I'm in.
Yeah. So we know we've got Painkiller Jane coming, more of that coming. Is there anything else that you want to tease or anything that we can talk about, or does it kind of have to stay hush-hush right now?
No, so the next Kickstarter is a book called Rage. And it happened, Scott Hampton and I, if you know Scott Hampton's work, he's amazing. We were talking about working on something together, and because he had some downtime between I guess he was doing something for Neil Gaiman or somebody at the time. And we were talking about ideas, and we fleshed out this idea, and then I went in and wrote a script, and he liked it, and he drew it, and we're almost done with it. We're like 98% done with it, and that's going to be the next Kickstarter. So it's like a 48 or 56 page graphic novel. It's adult. It's a beginning, middle, and end story. It's basically, what if the world, like tonight, what if the world just, anyone that had any kind of anger or rage in them got amplified by 1,000? And what kind of mess would it be by the morning?
Yeah.
And it's kind of, originally when we talked about it, he talked about doing a werewolf story, and I said, there's a lot of them. I said, but I do like the idea of the rage part of a werewolf, the idea of I said, what if we did it without the werewolf angle, where just people went completely insane? And then we took off from there, which is always the fun part of a decent idea, is you can keep building on it. And we did for this book. So that'll probably be the next Kickstarter.
That's fantastic. What do you have a general idea of like time frame on that?
Yeah, so we get our books from Sex and Violence 3 next week. I need 2 weeks so it'll be the beginning of July, end of June, beginning of July.
That's great.
Yeah,
great.
We don't do the next Kickstarter until I deliver everything from the last one. That's the rule.
And I definitely respect that, because there's a lot of other people that could probably learn from that example. So
yeah, I have to run over there and smack some once in a while. They make it look bad for. They make it look bad for. Until we have a rating on Kickstarter where people can rate your Kickstarter, I have to deal with people telling me I don't back Kickstarters because I never got my book from this guy, and I have to tell them that's like you going to Burger King and complaining to me at In-N-Out about Burger King. I can't really help you. So,
absolutely. TJ James does ask a question here. He says, on the flip side, do you get any satisfaction when a project falls flat, like the Jonah Hex film?
No. I feel nothing but sorrow, because that movie failed. All my trade books were returned from bookstores.
Oh, man.
So they took my Jonah Hex books out of circulation because the movie failed. So Justin and I never made another dime on Jonah Hex. It didn't help the book sales. It didn't help Josh Brolin's career, and I love Josh. Josh was great in it. That was not his fault. Like, the actors were great in it. It was just it just was not a great film. It was a screenplay, didn't understand the character, and it was a mess. But no, because if it was a giant hit, I'd probably still be writing Jonah Hex. They probably involved me some way in the second or third one if they made 2 or 3 films. And by then they would have got it going really well, and we would have been seeing more Jonah Hex films. So no, it makes me sad on 100 levels. It makes me sad because, they should have involved Justin and I from the beginning. They had such great actors involved. I mean, you had John Malkovich, You had Josh Brolin. You had Magneto. I can't remember his name.
Michael Fassbender. Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Fassbinder. You know, you had all these unbelievable talents in it, and it still didn't gel. You know, so no, so that kind of stuff is just it's bad all around. It's bad all around. You know, I can have that moment where I go, you know why that movie failed? Because you didn't involve me and Justin. That and $1 leaves you with $1.
Yeah.
You know? But it took my books out of circulation and eventually had that book killed. So, you know. No.
And I always loved that book too, because I loved the artists that you brought in to work on the book. You even brought back Tony DeZuniga to work on it. I mean, there were so many great people, you know, working on that. Yeah, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that.
It was having Tony do that hardcover we did was a gift. Having Dick Giordano, that was his last work, and having Dick said to me, I really want to do a Jonah Hex issue. And of course, you don't say no, right?
Yeah.
And Justin and I knocked out that story in a couple of days because we knew Dick had to get right on it. He was sick at the time.
Yeah.
No, it was a book where I thanked Dan DiDio for that. Dan DiDio said, your book, hire who you want. It needs to come out monthly. And let me and Justin do whatever we want on the book. And 70 issues, you know, we never shipped late. Came out the first week of the month for 70 months.
With the high bar, Jimmy.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
I have tools for high bars too. So makes no sense.
All right. Well, listen, we're just about out of time, but I just want to remind people, check out paperfilms.com for more information on Jimmy and Amanda. Be on the lookout for Rage at Kickstarter and Red Sonja, of course, at your local comic shop. And guys, it's so good to see you, and I miss you guys so much. And it's so nice that you would take the time to be a part of Comic Art Live. Really appreciate being here, and I'm honored that I was able to host your panel here today. So
we miss you too a lot. We miss all you guys.
And I love, look, you know, we're huge fans. Both Amanda and I are huge fans of Comic Art and the site. And you know, Bill was really sweet to have us. Bill Cox having us on here. He's just a great guy, and we're huge fans. So this is like a real gift for us. Plus having you, he kind of knew putting you here. A kind of smart move, you know.
Well, I kind of forced my way into it. So, but no, it's been great. It's been wonderful seeing you, and keep up the great work. And it's so nice to see people that, you know, not only produce great artwork and great stories, but are great people in general. And so thank you for just being who you are. And keep it up, man.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, and thanks for putting Amanda's book on the on your.
That's right.
We noticed that. We know it's subtle, but you know, yeah. So go out and buy Red Sonja. I just saw Nikki pop in, so I'm like, go out and buy Red Sonja.
Red Sonja available, and again, paperfilms.com. I posted it in the chat. Guys, check that out. More information on Jimmy and Amanda. Guys, thank you so much. It's wonderful to see you.
Buddy.
All right, y'all take care. And everybody in the chat, thank you for joining us. We will see you on the next Comic Art Live panel. Take care.